HOA president kept trespassing on my lakefront property. I knew she'd eventually try to take my new boat. So I made a decision. I'd let her steal it. I deliberately baited her with the perfect opportunity, but she didn't know my boat was rigged as a legal trap with cameras, GPS tracking, and a remote kill switch. When she took the bait, the evidence was undeniable. Let me tell you how this all began. But before that, comment your country name. I would love to hear. After 30 years working security for oil companies in the world's most dangerous places, all I wanted was peace and quiet. Not the fake kind you get in those planned communities with their perfectly trimmed hedges and noise ordinances. Real quiet. The kind where you can hear yourself think without someone's wind chimes or leaf blower interrupting. That's why I bought the old cabin on Miller Lake. It sat on 3 acres of wooded land with 200 feet of private shoreline. The realtor kept apologizing for how rustic it was, but that's exactly what I wanted. Something away from people and their endless drama. For the first 2 weeks, it was paradise. I'd wake up with the sun, make coffee on the old stove, and sit on the back deck watching eagles dive for fish. No meetings, no schedules, no gunfire. Just me and nature. Then I started noticing things were off. Small stuff at first. My fishing gear rearranged, beer missing from the cooler on the porch, footprints in the mud that weren't mine. I figured it was local kids using my dock to swim when I wasn't around. Annoying but not worth getting worked up about. That changed the day I met Brenda. I was replacing some rotted boards on the dock when I heard tires on gravel. Nobody drives to my place by accident. The road literally ends at my property. I straightened up, feeling that familiar tension creep into my shoulders. Old habits die hard. A white SUV with Lakeside Community stickers on both sides pulled up. Out stepped a woman in her 50s, clipboard in hand, wearing khaki shorts and a polo shirt with some kind of logo on it. Her hair was that perfect blonde that only comes from bottles, cut in that, "I want to speak to your manager" style. "Hello there," she called out with fake cheerfulness. "I'm Brenda Matthews, president of the Miller Lake Homeowners Association." I set down my hammer and walked toward her, not bothering to hide my annoyance. "Dave Wilson," I said. "Don't remember joining any association." Her smile tightened. "Oh, all properties around the lake are automatically part of our community. We maintain standards, organize events, keep property values high. Speaking of which." She glanced at my cabin with obvious disapproval. "We have guidelines about exterior appearances." I crossed my arms. "This property isn't part of any HOA. I checked very carefully before buying." Brenda's smile vanished entirely. "Well, technically the previous owner had an understanding with us. We've always had access to this shoreline for community events." "That understanding died with the previous owner," I said. "This is private property now." She looked at my dock like it personally offended her. "We've been hosting our annual 4th of July fireworks viewing party here for 15 years. "Not anymore," I said. Her face turned pink. "Mr. Wilson, you're new here. You don't understand how things work. We're a close community. I understand property rights just fine. And right now you're trespassing." Brenda clutched her clipboard tighter. "I see. Well, I'll bring this up at the next board meeting. I'm sure we can come to some arrangement." The way she said arrangement made it sound like a threat. After she left, I checked my property boundaries again. Just as I thought, my land wasn't part of any HOA. The lake itself was public, but my shoreline and dock were private. Over the next few days, I put up "No Trespassing" signs, installed a gate across my driveway, and set up security cameras. Paranoid? Maybe. But I hadn't survived 3 decades in war zones by ignoring warning signs. Good thing too, because Brenda came back. And she brought friends. There were 3 of them this time, all with that same community volunteer look. Expensive casual clothes, forced smiles, and eyes that sized up everything for potential violations. "Dave," Brenda said like we were old friends, "this is Ted from the board and Sarah, our events coordinator. I didn't invite them past the gate. What can I do for you folks?" Ted stepped forward. "We've reviewed the situation, and legally speaking, you're correct that your property isn't officially within HOA boundaries." "I know," I said. "However," Sarah chimed in, "there's been a long-standing tradition of community access to this shoreline. The previous owner understood the value of being a good neighbor." I stared at them. "The previous owner died alone and nobody noticed for 3 days. Forgive me if I don't take neighborhood relationship advice from him." Brenda's smile never wavered. "We're preparing for our summer festival next month. We've always launched the fireworks display from this dock. It's the perfect spot." "Not anymore," I repeated. Perhaps a compromise? Ted suggested. We'll pay a reasonable fee for one-day access. I shook my head. Not interested. I bought this place for privacy. Sarah's friendly facade cracked slightly. Do you really want to be known as the man who ruined the Miller Lake Summer Festival? Some of these families have been attending for generations. I don't care about being known at all, I told her. That's kind of the point of living out here. After they left, I checked my cameras. Sure enough, while Brenda and Ted kept me talking at the gate, Sarah had wandered around taking pictures of my property. The nerve of these people. That night, I got a formal letter from the Miller Lake Community Board, listing all the ways my property violated their neighborhood standards: peeling paint, unmaintained landscaping, potentially hazardous dock structure. The letter ended with an offer to assist with bringing the property into compliance. I tossed it in the fireplace and watched it burn. The next day, I drove into town for supplies and returned to find fresh footprints on my dock. The security camera showed Brenda and two men I hadn't seen before, measuring my dock and taking more pictures. Time to escalate. I installed motion sensors, better locks, and a solar-powered alarm system. I also put up a bigger sign: trespassers will be prosecuted. This means you, Brenda. Instead of backing off, they switched tactics. I started getting friendly visits from other neighbors, all with the same message: the HOA isn't so bad, it's easier just to go along, Brenda can make things difficult. Then came the notices, letters saying my dock was unsafe, that my trees needed trimming because they blocked someone's view, that my garbage cans were visible from the lake. All official looking but completely unenforceable. I ignored them all. Then came my retirement gift to myself: a brand new fishing boat. Nothing fancy, just a 20-foot fiberglass beauty with an electric motor. Sleek, silent, and perfect for early morning fishing trips. I named her Solitude. The day after I brought the boat home, Brenda appeared at my gate again. Beautiful boat, she said, eyeing it like a vulture. You know, we've been thinking about getting a community boat for lake patrols and sunset cruises. Good for you, I said. We could share resources, she suggested. Your boat could be part of the community fleet. We'd maintain it, insure it. No, I cut her off. My boat stays with me. She didn't like that. You know, Dave, life around here is much easier when people cooperate. Cooperation requires consent, I told her. I'm not giving mine. That night, checking my cameras before bed, I noticed something odd: Brenda's SUV driving slowly past my property. What? Twice. 3 times. She was casing my place. That's when I had my idea. If Brenda wanted my boat so badly, maybe I should let her have it, on my terms. I spent the next day setting up what I called Operation Karen Trap. First, I installed a GPS tracker in the boat, linked to an app on my phone. Then I added a kill switch that could be activated remotely. Finally, the piece de resistance: a small camera hidden in the console recording everything. The boat looked normal, but now it was a floating evidence collector. If Brenda or her HOA buddies tried anything, I'd have them on camera, GPS data showing the boat's movement, and the ability to stop the engine remotely. Then I set the bait. I made sure Brenda saw me loading fishing gear into my truck early Saturday morning. I even waved at her when I spotted her pretending to garden across the lake. I drove away but parked just out of sight, settling in with binoculars and my phone ready. It took less than an hour. The app pinged. Motion detected near the boat. I watched through the camera as Brenda and a man I recognized as Ted from the HOA board crept onto my property. They were wearing gardening gloves, looking around nervously. Ted whispered, "Are you sure about this, Brenda? Breaking and entering is a felony." "It's not breaking and entering," she hissed back. "We're just moving community property to a more accessible location. He'll thank us when he sees how much use the boat gets." I almost laughed out loud. She was seriously trying to convince herself that stealing my boat was community service. They boarded Solitude and Ted started fumbling with the ignition. Surprisingly, he knew what he was doing, must have had experience with boats. The engine started and I watched as they slowly pulled away from my dock. I let them get about 100 yards out before I activated the kill switch. The engine died immediately. Then I called the sheriff. "Sheriff's office, Deputy Martinez speaking. This is Dave Wilson out at Miller Lake. I'd like to report a theft in progress. Someone's stolen my boat. I can see them from shore, they're stranded in the middle of the lake right now." "You can see who did it?" she asked. "Clear as day," I said. "It's Brenda Matthews and Ted. I don't know his last name. From the HOA. I've got them on camera breaking onto my property and taking my boat. And I've got GPS tracking showing the boat's movement." "Stay where you are, Mr. Wilson. We'll send someone right away." I watched through binoculars as Brenda and Ted argued on the drifting boat. Ted was trying to restart the engine while Brenda gesticulated wildly. The boat drifted farther from shore, turning slowly in the light breeze. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's patrol boat approached them. I couldn't hear what was said, but the body language told the story. Ted looking defeated, Brenda still arguing, the deputies taking notes. They towed my boat back to my dock where I was waiting. Another patrol car had arrived on land, and Deputy Martinez was reviewing the security footage on my laptop. "Mr. Wilson," she said, "this is pretty clear-cut. We've got them on camera entering your property without permission and taking your boat." Brenda and Ted looked shell-shocked as they were escorted off the patrol boat. Brenda recovered quickly though. "This is all a misunderstanding," she said smoothly. "Dave here is new to the community. He doesn't understand that we share resources around the lake. We were simply relocating the boat for the community event tomorrow." Deputy Martinez looked at her. "Ms. Matthews, the property records are clear. Mr. Wilson's land and dock are private property. The boat is registered to him personally." She held up my security footage on the laptop. "And here you are on camera, saying you're moving community property, when it clearly isn't." Ted was smarter. He stayed quiet. Brenda switched tactics. "Dave, this is silly. We're neighbors. Let's not involve the authorities in a simple misunderstanding." I shook my head. "No misunderstanding here, Brenda. You've been trespassing repeatedly despite warnings. Now you've graduated to theft." In the end, Brenda and Ted were both arrested for attempted grand theft. The sheriff also issued trespassing citations for their previous documented visits to my property. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. A week later, I received a certified letter from a law firm representing Brenda Matthews and the Miller Lake Homeowners Association. They were suing me for entrapment, claiming I had maliciously baited Brenda into taking the boat, causing her emotional distress and community embarrassment. I called my old buddy Mike, who happens to be a retired JAG lawyer. After laughing for a solid minute, he agreed to represent me. The lawsuit never made it to court. Mike filed a countersuit for harassment, trespassing, attempted theft, and legal fees. He included all my security footage, the threatening letters from the HOA, and statements from other lakeside residents who weren't part of Brenda's inner circle. It turned out I wasn't the only one tired of Brenda's reign of terror. Once word got out that someone was fighting back, other neighbors came forward with their own stories: unapproved fines, bullying tactics, selective enforcement of rules that didn't actually exist. The HOA board held an emergency meeting and voted to remove Brenda as president. Her lawsuit was withdrawn the next day. My countersuit was settled for a confidential amount that covered my legal fees with enough left over to build a boathouse. As for Ted, he stopped by a month later to apologize. Turns out Brenda had convinced him that my property was legally part of the HOA territory and that they had the right to reclaim the boat for community use. He was embarrassed and genuinely sorry. "She's been running this place like her personal kingdom for years," he told me. "Nobody had the guts to stand up to her until you came along. These days things are quiet again." The new HOA president, a retired teacher named Jim, respects property boundaries and actually focuses on things that matter, like maintaining the public boat launch and organizing voluntary community events. Brenda moved away last month. Her house sold to a young family who wave when they see me fishing but otherwise keep to themselves. Perfect neighbors in my book. As for me, I've actually made a few friends around the lake. People who were as tired of HOA politics as I was. We fish together sometimes, share beers on my newly rebuilt dock, and never once discuss property values or community standards. And solitude? She's still my private boat, but occasionally I'll take neighborhood kids out for fishing lessons. On my terms. Because real community isn't forced, it's built on respect and boundaries. Just last week I was out on the lake at dawn when Jim motored up in his old pontoon boat. "Morning, Dave," he called. "Catching anything?" "Few bass," I replied. "You?" "Not yet." He gestured to my boat. "That tracking system you installed, you think something like that would work on the community dock? We've had some vandalism issues." I smiled. "I could help you set something up." "Appreciate it," he said, then started to move on before pausing. "Oh, and the annual fireworks are next weekend. No pressure, but if you wanted to watch from your dock, a few of us were thinking of bringing some food and beer. Your call though." "Might take you up on that," I said. He nodded and drifted away, respecting my space without another word. That night, sitting on my dock with a cold beer, watching the sunset turn the lake to gold, I realized something important. Peace and quiet doesn't have to mean complete isolation. Good neighbors respect boundaries. Bad ones crash right through them. And sometimes, the best way to protect your peace is to set a trap for those who would steal it. The best part? It's all perfectly legal when they take the bait. I took another sip of beer and smiled. Life on the lake was good. Real good.